Once upon a time, there lived a man who stalked his daughter wherever she went. His name was Adeyemi, and he was one insecure father who could not stand the thought of his daughter with any man. Adeyemi was a single father who single-handedly raised his daughter from birth. His loving wife died whilst giving birth to their daughter, and Adeyemi had no other option but to fill the role of both mother and father. He watched his daughter take her first steps, and was even there when she saw her first period. Adeyemi loved his daughter with all of his heart, and could not stand any harm coming to her. However, when Kiki began to grow, his mind raced at the thought of all that could go wrong. Adeyemi knew how beautiful his daughter was, and could not stand any man coming close to her. At first, he took it upon himself to drive his daughter wherever she wanted to go. Adeyemi did this to enable him keep an eye on her. Even when Kiki had to enroll for jam lessons, Adeyemi made sure to wait as he parked his car in front of the school, waiting for his daughter to be done. Kiki had no life outside her father. Her friends were always uncomfortable around her, seeing how her father listened in on their conversations. Even when they visited her home, her father knocked on her door at intervals, eavesdropping on their conversations to ensure that they weren't talking about boys. Adeyemi took it a notch further by cloning his daughter's phone to monitor every message that came her way. He hid this so perfectly as he stayed from a distance and monitored all of his daughter's conversations. Adeyemi did not joke with it. Every message that entered Kiki's phone entered his own phone as well, as Adeyemi scrutinized the messages like a police. Even Hai was interrogated, every emoji analyzed, as all her missed calls were now treated like a crime scene. Even an innocent "How was your day?" message was met with angry stares as Adeyemi whispered underneath his breath, asking why the person was so interested in her day. Worst of all was if the message came from a boy, as Adeyemi could not stand the thought of his daughter with any man. This was the reason why he bought her everything that she asked for. Adeyemi could not risk his daughter relying on men for items that he could easily provide. In fact, he placed his daughter on a huge monthly allowance, and Kiki did not lack anything in life. He believed that money could solve all her problems, and this made him so generous towards her. If Kiki wanted clothes, he bought them for her. If she wanted a new phone, her father did not hesitate to upgrade it. What Adeyemi did not know was that the time was coming when his daughter would no longer be the little girl he once knew. She would grow into a woman whose heart would one day crave freedom. The freedom to choose, to love, and to form her own relationships. He hoped that she would be his little girl forever, but as life would have it, Kiki grew into a very beautiful young woman, extremely beautiful and soft-spoken, the kind that men noticed without breaking a sweat. Kiki was so observant that she noticed things long before anyone ever spoke about them. She noticed the way boys looked at her, the way her father stiffened whenever a male voice called her name. However, nothing prepared her father for the day that her university admission letter arrived. Kiki gained admission into the university on her first attempt. The house erupted in celebration as Adeyemi danced and praised God for his mercies. He got her a new laptop as gift, and Kiki could not hide her excitement. However, when the excitement settled, fear began to creep into her father's heart. He knew what this new fit meant, the freedom that followed, and how boys preyed on girls in the university. Adeyemi remembered all the terrible things that he did to girls in his own time. He remembered how many hearts he broke, and how the girls always swore for him that his own daughter would go through worse pain. In fact, he remembered a certain girl who got pregnant for him in the university. She was kind, soft, and trusting, a naive young woman who believed that she had finally found love with a man who loved her as much as she loved him. The young lady believed all that he said to her, that he loved her and would do anything for her. Adeyemi knew the right things to say, and he said it with so much conviction, making her believe that he meant every word. Little did she know that she was only one out of many, and that Adeyemi had no intention of being with her for long. She was only a temporary thrill to him, one of the many girls whose names blended into each other, whose faces he remembered only when it was convenient. She was the kind of girl that believed deeply, the kind that loved with all of her heart, the kind who listened whenever he spoke. Adeyemi met her during his second year at the university. He noticed her the day she smiled at him during lectures, and that was all it took. They began a relationship where she put in her all, whilst Adeyemi used her to pass time. Months later, something happened that she could not imagine. The young woman fell pregnant and decided to inform him about it. They met behind the school library as she told him the news. Her eyes were red as Adeyemi stared at her for a moment and laughed, not because it was funny, but because he did not believe her. Pregnant? He scoffed. You must be joking, he said as she began to cry. Adeyemi, instead of showing compassion, accused her of sleeping with half of the boys on campus. He denied the pregnancy and warned her never to come close to him again. Her heart shattered in that moment to watch the man she loved turn into a complete monster. She pleaded with him not to do this to her. She even reminded him of everything he promised, but Adeyemi felt nothing for her. He walked out on her and never reached out to her again. The young woman, in a bid to get rid of the pregnancy, lost her life, and Adeyemi never got over what he did to her. He feared that the same fate could one day meet his own daughter, and that fear sat heavily in his heart. It followed him everywhere, even to Kiki's university life, as Adeyemi was so protective of his daughter. From the first day she resumed on campus, Adeyemi thought of the best way to keep an eye on her. He thought deeply as he thought of what to do. Adeyemi in that moment caught sight of a boy on campus who was speaking to his parents about his fees. They had not been paid, and the boy had no means of securing the money. Adeyemi in that instant got a very brilliant idea. He approached the boy, whose name was Shola, and offered to pay his fees if he agrees to date his daughter. Adeyemi saw this as his best option. He believed that if he was in control of his daughter's relationship, then he could avert whatever danger that she could face. Adeyemi laid out strict rules for Shola to follow if he ever wanted his fees to be paid. He told him to first of all win his daughter's heart, as only then would their contract begin. Adeyemi warned Shola never to have anything personal with his daughter. All he was allowed to do was to keep her company so as to chase away the other boys on campus. Adeyemi saw this as a genius plan, not knowing what he was really getting himself into. Shola went after Kiki with all that he had. He was such a handsome young man, and it did not take long for Kiki to fall deeply in love with him. The contract began, and Shola acted the script like Kiki's father had provided. He was so sweet and loving, accompanying her to lectures and helping her wherever she needed help. Always present, always attentive, always saying the right things. To Kiki, it felt like a dream come true. For the first time in her life, she had a boyfriend who her father finally approved of. Adeyemi watched from a distance as he felt proud of himself, knowing that he was now in total control. He got information about all that his daughter was doing, and this made him relax. He got information about all that his daughter was doing, and this made him relax, knowing that the danger he once feared was now non-existent. Months passed, and Shola played his role perfectly. He reported everything, answered questions without complaint, and whenever Adeyemi called, Shola picked up immediately. Adeyemi paid his fees on time. He even sent pocket money and bought clothes for him that would make him look good next to his daughter. To him, Shola was the perfect puppet for the job. He obeyed every command and gave Adeyemi nothing to worry about until one morning when Adeyemi woke up to a text that sent shivers down his spine. Shola had sent him a threatening message requesting for millions to keep him silent. Adeyemi sat upright in bed, his heart pounding violently in his chest as he read the messages again and again. Good morning, sir. I need 5 million naira before Friday. If not, I will tell Kiki everything. I have recordings, so don't play. Adeyemi's hands began to shake. Recordings? He said to himself as his hands shook. He called Shola immediately and began to yell angrily at him. Are you mad? Adeyemi shouted into the phone. What's the meaning of this nonsense? Shola laughed hysterically. Not the nervous kind of laughter, but the calm, confident laughter of someone who now knew the power that they had. Adeyemi felt cold in his spine. He asked what Shola meant by recordings, and Shola revealed to him that from the very first day, he recorded everything that was happening. The calls, the messages, voice notes where he instructed him to date his daughter for money. Adeyemi's knees buckled as he thought of what to do. He He could not allow his daughter find out that he was behind the relationship that she believed was real. Adeyemi knew what this would do to their relationship. He knew that this could damage the relationship that he had built for all these years. Silence swallowed Adeyemi whole as he decided to give in to the request. He negotiated the money down and paid 2 million naira instead of 5. Adeyemi thought it was all over until Shola returned again with another request. This was barely a month after he made the first payment. Adeyemi found himself paying for his sins in the most expensive way. He stood back helpless as he watched his daughter love a boy that he knew did not love her. Adeyemi at a point could not control Shola anymore. The boundaries he had set slowly disappeared. At first, Adeyemi noticed small changes. Shola began to stay longer with his daughter Kiki. He returned her to the hostel late and stopped picking Adeyemi's calls entirely. When Adeyemi confronted him, Shola replied him casually, revealing that Kiki was an adult who could not be easily controlled. Adeyemi's chest tightened, knowing that he had made the worst mistake of his life. He began to monitor his daughter's messages again, reading everything that Shola was sending to her. The messages broke his heart as he realized that Shola was now sleeping with his own daughter. His heart broke in a way that he could not explain as he decided to confront him. Adeyemi went through his daughter's messages and realized that Shola had football practice that evening. He waited patiently by the pitch as he waited for Shola to arrive. Minutes later, Shola arrived for practice and Kiki's father stormed out of his car to confront him. "How dare you sleep with my daughter after our agreement?" he said to Shola, who asked what he was going to do about it. "Is she not my girlfriend? What business have you with what we choose to do as a couple?" he asked Adeyemi, whose blood boiled as he held himself back from losing it. Adeyemi threatened not to pay his fees again. He even threatened to arrest him, but Shola informed him that doing so would only make things worse. "If you ever touch my fees, I will send everything to Kiki," he said as Adeyemi froze in his tracks. For the first time in his life, fear silenced him completely. Adeyemi had to find another way to keep them apart. He could not risk doing anything that would jeopardize the relationship he had with his daughter. So, he decided to speak to his daughter about him. Adeyemi sat his daughter down as he began to ask her some questions that she never saw coming. "Do you really love this boy, Shola?" he asked Kiki, who revealed to him that Shola was the love of her life. Adeyemi swallowed hard as he thought of what to do. His daughter was now in love with a boy who he paid to keep her distracted. He did not know how to tell her that Shola was only with her because of him. He stood there speechless as his mind raced in a way that he never imagined. Adeyemi had to do something about it. He knew that telling his daughter the truth would break her and he could not stand it. Days passed and Shola continued to blackmail him for money. He had spent millions and knew that Shola would continue to come forward for more if he didn't do something about it. So, Adeyemi thought of a plan that he believed would work. He didn't want to do anything that would make Shola know that he was behind everything that was happening. So, he paid a girl on campus to sleep with Shola so as to release the evidence for all to see. This way, Shola would have no idea that he was the one behind it. Adeyemi could not risk Shola exposing his secret to his daughter. So, he sat back and waited for his plan to unfold. Adeyemi waited for days. He waited the way guilty men wait, with sleepless nights, restless pacing, and prayers that sounded more like bargaining than faith. Days later, and the video began to circulate on campus. Kiki caught sight of it and froze in complete shock. She stood there speechless as she caught sight of Shola in bed with another woman. Her heart broke in a way that she could not explain. She thought of confronting him, but changed her mind the last minute as she ran off in pain. Kiki ran without direction, tears blurring her vision as her breathing became heavy. Her mind replayed the video over and over again. Shola's voice, his laughter, his hands on another woman, the same hands that once held hers. Kiki crossed the road without looking. Her mind was so far away as she failed to see the car that was approaching. By the time she understood what was happening, the car had lost control and hit her off the road. People screamed out in terror as they rushed her to a nearby hospital. Adeyemi was notified of the accident as he rushed out of his house to the hospital. He arrived and met his daughter, who was now in a deep coma. Adeyemi could not hold back his pains. He regretted all that he did and wished he came clean to his daughter. Adeyemi collapsed beside his daughter's hospital bed. Machines hummed softly as the monitors continued to beep. However, his daughter did not move. Kiki lay there unconscious, surrounded by wires and tubes. Nothing like the vibrant young woman who once laughed freely in his presence. Adeyemi held her hand and broke down in tears. "I did this," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I was so afraid of losing you that I forgot how to love you properly." Tears streamed down his face as memories began to flood his mind. Every lie, every manipulation, every moment he chose control over trust. "I thought I was protecting you," he sobbed, "but I was only protecting my fear." The doctor approached quietly. "She has severe injuries," he said gently. "She's stable for now, but she's in a coma. We don't know when or if she'll ever wake up." Adeyemi nodded slowly, his heart sinking as he stayed by her side. He spoke to her even when she could not hear him. He told her the truth, everything that he was too cowardly to say before. "I paid him," he confessed softly. "I paid Shola to become your boyfriend," he said. "I controlled your life because I was scared of my past. I'm sorry for everything I caused you," he said to his daughter, who remained unconscious on the hospital bed. Days passed, and then weeks, but Kiki did not wake up. The hospital became his home, as the chair beside her bed became his punishment. One morning, as the sun filtered through the window, Kiki's fingers twitched. Adeyemi froze in shock. "Kiki!" he whispered urgently. "My baby, please wake up," he said as her eyelids fluttered open. Slowly, painfully, she opened her eyes as Adeyemi burst into tears. "Daddy," she murmured faintly as he nodded, holding her hand tightly. "I'm here, my princess," he said, "and I'm not going anywhere." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why did you try to control my life, Daddy?" she asked weakly as Adeyemi swallowed hard. "Because I was afraid," he said honestly. "But fear does not equate love, and I learnt it too late." Kiki looked away briefly, then back at him. "Promise me something, Daddy," she whispered. "Promise me that you will let me live, even if it scares you." Adeyemi nodded without hesitation. "I promise," he said. "No more control, no more lies, only love from now henceforth." Kiki closed her eyes again, exhausted, but now she was alive. And in that hospital room, Adeyemi learned the hardest lesson of his life, that love does not mean possession, and that protection does not mean control. Fear, when left unchecked, can destroy the very thing that he was trying to save. Shola, however, did not walk away untouched. After the accident, everything unraveled. How he blackmailed Adeyemi and took millions from him. Friends distanced themselves from him as his reputation collapsed. The money stopped coming in, and the confidence he once flaunted disappeared overnight. Shola left campus quietly, and no one ever heard from him again, not even Kiki, who chose peace over closure. When she finally healed, she let Shola become a chapter she never reopened. No calls, no questions, no explanations. She focused on rebuilding herself, slowly learning how to love without fear and live without chains. Adeyemi watched his daughter grow again, this time not as someone to be guarded, and though the scars remain, both father and daughter carried forward a quiet truth that forgiveness is not forgetting, but choosing to live better than the pain that once defined you. The lesson to be learned from this story is that the greatest danger to our children is not the world outside, but the broken part of ourselves that we refuse to heal. When fear is left unaddressed, it disguises itself as protection and turns love into control. True parenting is not about owning a child's life or shaping their choices out of past regrets, but about healing our wounds so we do not pass them on. Love thrives on trust, honesty, and freedom, and when these are denied, even good intentions can cause deep and lasting harm. I hope you enjoyed